Transcendental Transformation, the place where spirituality and transformation unite. Host Miss Raina imparts truth so that you can break through your limiting beliefs and evolve into a deeper consciousness. As you go about your day, remember, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. And now, let's start the show.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Transcendental Transformation. I'm your host, Miss Raina, and today is Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022. As always, we're coming live here in the Star System Studios right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I hope all is well with everybody. So today is 2222. Lots of twos. And I thought actually I might mess that up for some reason with my dyslexia, but yes, today is 222 of 22, and I don't know what you guys were doing at 222 this afternoon, but I was actually hitting some softballs, going into just trying to get into, getting back to exercise, because I have officially been cleared for light exercises. I kind of already knew that and everything like that, because I've been kind of doing my own thing as far as like doing walking and all that stuff, but I just wanted to get some exercise because today is a day of duality, and what that means to us is it's allowing us to see ourselves for who we really are and to see ourselves in reflection as ourselves in truth. And that's the amazing thing about today. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, it's 222, and there's a lot of guesses out there. There's a lot of things that people are saying. I'm seeing that there's portals and all this stuff that people are saying that are opening up. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is today is a day of duality and honoring the idea that we are all one consciousness, observing ourselves in the purest form and having the experiences of seeing these things to what we need to be able to do to accomplish what we have. So yes, we are pure, we are in essence, we are in truth. Let's open up our hearts to self-acceptance. Let's open up ourselves to love and compassion and see that everything that we're learning is only meant to help us evolve through our own experiences and not what being done to us. The other thing I suggest that you guys do, because today is a wonderful day to do it, is try to see somebody else's perspective. If you are having a hard time with perspective, if you are having a hard time with something else, then, or any situation, I should say, then try to see somebody else's perspective, because this is something that a lot of us that are going to be that we have issues with, as we know. So, it's one of those things where I suggest to you, try focusing on what it is that makes you angry, and then look at it from a different way and say, how is this a reflection of my inner truth? How is this a reflection of my inner essence? And then you'll start to see something else. But, guys, I want to move on, because we are hosting a workshop at FPG. If you guys aren't aware of that, is a big gathering. It's a big festival that happens in Florida twice a year. And I'm excited because after a 9-year absence I used to go to this festival all the time, but after 9 years of kind of having absence, and you guys know what's gone on, we are back, and we will be there hosting a class April 20th through the 24th at Silver Springs, Florida. We will be hosting the class, The 5 Principles of Emotions. And I know a lot of you guys already know what that is, and some of that stuff, because you guys have taken the class before or heard me throughout the various shows that we've done. But I am excited, guys. I really am. And plus, we also have another project coming up with the Inner Truth Project. We will be working with people there. If you're not familiar with it, and you're in South Florida, look up the Inner Truth Project. It's a great organization that helps people with domestic abuse and violence and sexual abuse as well. We will be there March 25th of this year, but we do not have the time yet. So we are moving things in gear, guys, and I am excited to be back on my feet and rocking and rolling. As always, guys, we are live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, DLive. I believe Facebook is not working right now, so I apologize. We will post that video when we're there. I don't know why Facebook always gives us such trouble. And as always, we have the replays. You guys know where to find them. So let's get on with tonight's show because honestly, like, this is actually this show. I get a lot of questions on, and I deal with this in my work. And one of the biggest things that we do is have and carry shame and guilt. So with that being said, before we get into the show, I actually had a situation come up, and it was actually presented to me, and it had me involved actually. And what ended up happening was I actually became into a situation where I overlooked something, and I assumed something because of something that happened to me in the past, and I didn't realize it was going on. And after it was all said and done, I kind of went after a couple of people because I thought they were doing something that they weren't really doing, or at least I don't have proof of that they were doing. And so it was, and after we talked about it, I kind of realized, I was like, you know what, because there is, as you guys know, I'm part of a gaming community, and it's one of those things where we're sitting there and there's been a lot of changes and a lot of things, and people are jumping ship doing different things. And I was blaming somebody for something that I wasn't sure what was going on because of the way things were falling into place. And I realized that someone who I've been close with for the last 7-8 months in this community, I didn't even give them the benefit of the doubt. I saw what was going on. I thought something, and right away I went right after them. And I realized that, you know, after this conversation, after we talked, and after the you know, everything went down, I realized that I came up with a little shame and guilt myself, and I was feeling terrible about myself. And I apologized to this person, of course, and then later on I apologized to him again. I just want to say, you know, that I feel really bad. And then all of a sudden I realized something. Wow, right now I have shame and guilt. And I was like, and I sat there and I was like, well, why do I have shame and guilt? And I realized that, you know, that I overreacted on something due to something that was unresolved. And this is what life is all about. We have these emotions, we have these ideas because of things that have happened to us. And, you know, no matter how advanced we are in our evolutions as beings, and as long as we're here, we got stuff to work on. And none of us are get out a free pass. None of us are perfect. None of us, we all have something to learn. And no matter what we do in life, we have to be able to understand and recognize when we are into those modes. And so what I did is I sat there today, and I was actually feeling the last couple of days, actually I was feeling really terrible about it. I was like, man, you know, I was like, me and this person were so close, and I jumped the gun on something because I don't have proof, but I realized that I was having an emotional reaction to something that had happened to me in the past, and it had the same similar look to it. And so what I ended up doing was I sat there and I sat with it for a minute. I said, well, what can I do about this? Is there anything I can do about this? And I said, well, no, I can't. What's done is done. And during one of my apologies to this person, I said, you know what? I understand what I did, and I'm truly sorry. I hope you can understand, you know, that I shouldn't have done that, and I jumped the gun. And if I understand that if you feel differently about me and our friendship, and if that changes, I'm willing to accept the consequences. And of course, the person said, no, it's all water under the bridge. I would never do anything to hurt you. And I said, okay. So I was moving on. But that shame and guilt stayed with me. And so I had to look at that really in a deep way. And I've been thinking about it until all of a sudden it came to me, well, why did this situation happen? And I dinged to myself, and I was like, wow, well, you know what? I'm doing a show on shame and guilt. I haven't felt shame and guilt in a long time, that all of a sudden I need to be reminded what it was like. I need to be reminded that, one, there is something, that I have to work on, that there's something that I need to focus on so that I can resolve it in myself. But it brought me again to the show that I'm doing, because it has been a long time since I felt guilty or shameful about anything. And that is something that we have to learn, because shame and guilt make us feel, it reminds us about introspection. So it teaches us what we're doing, what we're going against, the ideas that we believe that are happening versus what may not be happening. Or maybe we've done something, seen something, experienced something that is exactly the way it is happening. and we feel guilty about the choices we've made. But it's all about introspection, because without doing something that we classify as right or wrong, good or bad, that make us feel this way, well, then what ends up happening? We never look at things. If we don't have what we call shame and guilt or anger or sadness or grief, then how do we ever pose to look at ourselves? We can't. We can never understand how to look at who we are and what we're doing. And so it allows us to reflect on ourselves. It teaches us, hey, you know what? This is life. We're not supposed to be perfect. And some of us think we should be perfect, or some of us think we are perfect. But in truth, we aren't. And the more we look at ourselves, the more we're willing to open up to the idea that we are the teachers. We are the teachers teaching ourselves against what it is we are experiencing. We are the universe. We are everything. There is no difference between you and I. There is no difference between me and this table, this microphone, this cell phone, everything that we have. Everything is completely one. And everything that I'm experiencing is meant to make me reflect on who I am, to answer the biggest question that we're always at. Who am I? And what else can I be? What can I do? What could I be in this world? Well, I could be this, I could be that, I could do everything. But in order for me to experience every possibility, well, we got to be happy, we got to be sad, right? We got to succeed, we got to fail, right? We got to have shame, we got to have guilt, we got to have anger, we got to have all these illusions, because we're going to get into all that in a minute. You know where I'm going with this. But we have all these illusions of what's going on. And we have to remember that if I did not if I did not do this, if I did not jump the gun and accuse and have an accusation without proof, I would not have realized, wait a minute, there's something else. This wasn't about this person. There was something else that I have unresolved in myself about an experience that I had in the past that's still lingering. So if I want to grow, if I want to experience what we call love and self-awareness and enlightenment and all that stuff, well, then we have to resolve that. I have to look at that. I have to be willing to say, oh, wow, where did that come from? What is it? Because if I can't hold up a mirror to myself, if I can't look at myself and truly look at the person that I am and the decisions that I make and the actions that I take, then how can we grow? And so that's what we're looking at, right? How can you grow if you're blaming everybody else for everything? If you're not looking at yourself and feeling these things, if you're not understanding the information that's coming in, you cannot grow. And this is why we're stuck in this loop of constant cycles of batter, because we beat ourselves up. We feel good for a day, then we find a reason to sabotage life or sabotage our friendships, relationships, and we just destroy ourselves because we're not willing to face who we truly are. And that's the thing, right? We don't, because we already feel maybe terrible. We already feel bad that we're, maybe that I did something and I hurt somebody, or I said something that hurt somebody's feelings, or I did an action, I cheated on someone, or or someone did, and so we don't want to feel this anymore. And that's why we delude ourselves with this idea that oh, let's be positive all the time. Oh, I can never focus on the negative. I don't want to look at myself. It's your fault. It's always your fault. I'm perfect. Everything I'm doing is great. But it's in the true self of who we are as a being, is in our natural state as the universe, to ask ourselves, to reflect on all the possibilities of who we are. And shame and guilt are one of the biggest ideas. That's one of the biggest tools we use. Again, there is no right or wrong, right? We have gone over this a million times, and I know that there's a lot of you that still I get emails, still I get people asking me, you say this thing about right and wrong all the time, but there is right, there is wrong, there is good, there is bad. Yes, to somebody who sees things as black and white and has no understanding that there is no such thing as that. It is all an illusion. It is all a reflection of self in order to teach ourselves what it is we're actually doing. If we are focused on who we are and why we're here, that gives us purpose. that gives us our mission, because we're not here to do a lot of the stuff that we set to do. We need to focus on self. We need to be who we are at truth, but yet we compromise, right? We compromise deeply. So what is guilt or shame? Well, if we're looking at the psychological meaning of guilt or shame, I should say, well, the psychological meaning of shame is an unpleasant and self-conscious emotion, right? It's unpleasant. When we feel shame, we feel terrible about ourselves, right? And it's usually associated with a negative evaluation of ourselves, right? Something happens to us, especially in say something terrible like sexual abuse or anything like that. A lot of times we start psychologically analyzing ourselves and putting shame on ourselves for something that was done to us, right? And so we evaluate ourselves in the harshest conditions possible. Again, there is no positive or negative. It's just we are seeing things from a very narrow, very sheltered perspective, and that's all it is, and that causes feeling distressed. So exposure, it causes mistrust. It makes us feel powerless. It makes us feel worthless. These are ideas of shame. And so, when we look at this idea, we also look at self-esteem. We look at the idea of how we value ourselves in comparison to other people. Because when you know that you are everybody else, you'll never compare yourself to everybody else, because that's like looking in a mirror and say, you know what, Miss Raina, or me looking in this camera, because that's a picture that I'm seeing of the video right now, and say, Miss Raina, wow, you're better than I am. Look at you, and comparing myself to myself. How can I do that? But we do, because we see people and things as separation. And so these painful feelings keep coming at us. We go through humiliation, we go through distress, and a lot of it is unconscious. A lot of it is subconscious too. We think we have these ideas of right or wrong, good or bad, backwards, forwards, better, worse. And so we think, oh, well, I didn't do this, I failed. Oh, and we feel foolish, we feel stupid. We start to look at ourselves and bring our vibration, bring our frequency down to a low level. And this is why it is so important. Guilt is on the same thing. There's really, to be honest with you, there's not really a difference between guilt and shame. They're kind of the same thing. The definition is feeling responsible or regretful. Perceived to be an offense, whether it's real or imaginary, can be part of reflection, grief. It's also self-conscious emotion. It's painful. It's having done or thought something. If we feel like we've done something wrong, or we've hurt somebody, or we should, I want to do this, but society says it's bad, or, so we feel guilt and shame all the time, because really what this is showing us is we're believing too much of what people are saying, because they don't understand the way we're supposed to be here. And so this goes against a lot of us. I can't imagine how many times throughout my life that I felt guilt or shame when I was younger, because I needed to know what that felt like. And so do you, in order for us to get to where we need to go. I don't know how many times I've sacrificed my time, my beliefs, my ideals to go along with what people said. I grew up in a Catholic school. Now, I have nothing against Catholicism or Christianity or anything like that, but those weren't my ideals. But I was told that they were, and I had a hard time with that. And for years, when I was young, I felt guilt and shame because I did not feel connection to that. And everybody kept telling me, the nuns, my family, everybody kept telling me, that's the way. And if you don't feel that way, then you're denying a God or God. And so I felt terrible about myself constantly. But that wasn't who I was. In truth of the matter, it was who I was. And then I'm talking to guides. I'm talking to Lori, Mox, Silviana, Luciana, et cetera, down the line. I'm seeing people. And according to all this, that's wrong. That's not supposed to happen. And so how do you think I felt? And so we can all relate to some way, shape, or form in your mind. I guarantee you're thinking of something right now. We'll be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody, we are back. If you're just joining us, you're ready for part 2 of the 3 parts here. 2/3, right? 2/3, right? So, all right, guys. So what are you thinking of right now? What is popping up into your mind? Because I know for a fact that as I'm talking about this, there's things popping up in your mind, feelings of guilt, feelings of shame, things that are unresolved, things that you've done, things that you may not, things that you want to push back. I'm going to tell you something. We've all done it. Most people have cheated in their life. Most people have hurt somebody. Some have killed people. Some have done. Everybody has done things we are not supposed to, or by society's terms, we are not supposed to. I know I've hidden drug use. You've probably maybe experimented with drugs, maybe drinking back when you were young, maybe smoking, maybe you used to cheat with people or cheat in school to pass by, whatever. And that whatever it is, maybe you there's infinite possibilities of all the things that we could be shameful for, from work ethics to personal things to relationships to, I could sit here and probably just list the amount of things for a whole show, but that would be boring to you guys. But what are the things that we're looking at? What are we hiding from? Why are we hiding from these ideas? You didn't do anything wrong. Everything that we do is either planned out by ourselves or we have created for ourselves to teach us, to bring us back to who we are. Now, I got to be honest with you. Today, not just because it's 2, and that are too many twos, one too many, I don't know. Anyways, you guys know what I mean. But if I didn't feel what I felt the other day with my friend and what went on in the gaming community, today has been a day of absolute love, unconditionally, acceptance. And I was going around, I'm surprised I didn't have a little flower basket. And as I was in Sprouts today, just throwing flowers and handing out flowers, that's how I felt. I was talking to everybody, complimenting people, just running around, doing everything, and feeling so overwhelmed of love and compassion that I was crying most of the day. And just about anything. Oh my God, this world is so beautiful, weeping tears. But it let me remember who I am in truth. Okay, I messed up. I made an accusation and I messed up. Do I do it often? No. It happens, though. It happens to the best of us. I've realized I have something to work on, and so I'm going to work on it. That is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to, and you know what? If this person doesn't want to be close to me anymore, then that's something that I have to accept, and there is a reason for it. But hopefully in time, especially since we spent 8 months together, almost every day, talking, hanging out, they understand that it was a one-time deal. And it might happen again at some point. I don't know. I don't care about tomorrow. But all I know is I'm not gonna stop being myself. When I'm emotional, when I feel something, I'm going to exercise that. I'm gonna let people know. I don't like to lie to myself. I don't want to. Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to other people. The things that I hold most value are honor, loyalty, and respect. And of course, truth. But that goes into all 3 of them. Because when you're honorable, you're loyal, and you respect, of course you're truthful. And you know what? And that's how you live. There's no reason to hide things from other people and cheat or hide, relapse on things or that. Be honest with yourself. Stop being the dishonesty, because the dishonesty with who you are in truth is what creates the shame and guilt. Because why do you feel guilty? Because you're being dishonest, right? That's plain and simple. You're being dishonest. And so that is why I say, you got to understand that anything dishonest, even when it goes with self, that doesn't mean you're lying or anything like that, but anything dishonest in this world will create an idea of shame and guilt. So if you are feeling guilty or shameful about something, ask yourselves, what am I being dishonest about? Am I being dishonest to myself? Am I being dishonest to another person? Am I being dishonest to what I find value? Because let's be honest, morals and values are nothing but judgments. They're subjective. What might be right for you may not be right for some, right? As Different Strokes once said, right? So yes, absolutely. I might think that, hey, it's okay to do this, and it's okay to do this, and it's okay to do that. And you may say, whoa, that's not okay. Who's right or wrong? There is no right or wrong. It's just we have different perspectives. We have different ideas of how we want to live our lives, and that is okay. So start asking yourself, why am I being dishonest? Not only to myself, because a lot of times shame and guilt will carry into yourself and stay there until it's resolved. And what ends up happening when it's not resolved is it transforms into anger. And then we become angry about everything. We become moody all the time. And I know I'm moody a lot too, but that's for whole different reasons. But we become angry, and we become resentful, and we become cautious, and we start blaming people and saying people suck and all these different things. No, people don't suck. Do we do some crappy things at times? Absolutely, we do. But again, if you can see yourself and remember that every person around you is yourself just experiencing something different, then all of a sudden it changes. Because feeling guilty and shame is just all emotion based, right? We feel guilty, we feel shame. What do? We feel bad, right? It's the way things transpired. Sometimes things are out of our control. How many of us are feeling guilty about things that aren't even in our control, or people have put shame and guilt on us, and when we really think about it, we're like, wait a minute, I didn't do anything. I know that there's people in terrible relationships, friendships, and that or living situations or anything, just work situations. I have people that come to me every day and say, my work situation is horrible. These people make me feel bad, and every day they try to blame me for everything. And now I feel shameful. I feel guilty because I feel like I'm not doing my job, even though I am. And how terrible is that? How terrible is that? We take responsibility for the things that we're doing, but don't let people put responsibility of things you're not doing. There's a huge difference, because the outcome of the way shame and guilt are going to be different based on whether or not it's something that you're perceiving and something that you're actually experiencing. So the other day, I was perceiving something. So the shame and guilt was short-lived, because I did something, I recognized it, I owned up to it, I took it on, and I said, you know what? It happened. I got to work on this to change that. Boom, gone, out the door. And I'm not going to beat myself up for a week or two. If someone tells me that they have forgiven me, or that everything's okay, water under the bridge, I'm going to take it that. Now, if they hold on to it, well, then that's their problem. Okay. And I don't mean that in a harsh way. What I'm saying is just that we have to learn to understand who we are and not take on the responsibility. Yes, you will feel bad at the things you do, but at the same time, if you can truly resolve what you are, then you cannot carry on how other people keep holding on to things. I have it all the time. I don't know how many people say that. I am a very caring person, but a lot of times people think that I just don't care about people or things, and it's not true. It's just that I've learned that my life, who I am, is valuable to me. And because I love myself, I want to make sure that if I'm feeling something, if I'm processing data, because that's all emotions are, right? Is processing the data and understanding what I'm experiencing with the data that I'm doing, then why am I going to take on other people's, especially if I've resolved it? If I said, okay, this is why, this is the who, what, when, where, why of this scenario, and you know what, I've made peace with it, why am I going to let somebody else's inability to understand the information come after me? And it's not. And this is the difference between real shame and real guilt and fake shame and fake guilt. It's the thought process behind it. Why am I having it? Is it a conditioned response? Is it from my childhood? Is it something that I've experienced? Is it something that I just keep beating myself up? If I'm beating myself up over shame and guilt constantly, well, then I have to learn that I'm really unhappy with myself. I am, because I don't know how many people do. I'm unhappy with who I am. I'm unhappy with my life. I'm unhappy with the ideas, and that will cause other triggers to happen. Well, let's get depressed. Let's get angry. Let's resent people. Let's push back. Let's hide in my room. Let's hide in whatever. I don't want to talk to people. I'm going to be antisocial. And trust me, people, I went through all this. You guys know, you guys have been with me since 2012. And you guys know, and I am very transparent with my life because I want to show you guys that no matter how evolved we are and how old we are, as long as we're here, we still have things to go. And even the best of us, even the people that have the information, still have things to grow. And you know what? I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for yesterday and the other day's experience, because without it, I would not have come to a bigger understanding about something in my life and let alone resolve it. So allow these things, these triggers, these emotional triggers and things. Don't be afraid of it. Let it help you. Let these things help you. That's why I always say, as much as I tell you guys emotions aren't real, which they're not, it's information to help you grow. So I want you guys to understand that for a minute. Just take a minute and think about that. It's information to help you grow. So yes, a situation may cause anger. It may cause sadness. It may cause grief. Of course, there's going to be times where you lash out in hurtful ways. I've done that many times throughout my life. I know family members that do that. I know friends and family people. I go play on softball. I see people get so upset that they lost the game, they start throwing bats and that they lash out. And then they tear people apart, okay? And then other people become withdrawn. They become depressed. They start having suicidal tendencies. They jump to alcohol and drug abuse. But the thing that is underlined to it all is it's self-hate. They hate themselves. They do not like who they are. You could have the best gym body that you could have. You could have the most beautiful looks. You could have all the money in the world. But the truth of how you think about what you are and who you are and the talk that happens every day and how you see yourself and how you perceive and how you react to things tells me who you are. It doesn't take a genius to figure out who people are. It doesn't take a genius to have my clients sit around me and then right away figure them out. It's by the way they speak of themselves. Sure, of course, I like to joke. I like to tease myself and stuff, but I keep that to a minimum. Even then, in that sense, I know I'm joking, but other people don't. So I keep it to a minimum around people because I know deep down what I'm doing. Most people, when they do it, they don't like themselves. Most people can't even, can you look at yourself in the mirror, stare at yourself eye to eye in the mirror and really tell yourself that you love yourself? Really look at, hey, I got some chub on me. I got some this. Hey, I got some gray hairs now. I got all this stuff. My face is, can you look at yourself and really appreciate who you are? Most people can't. I guarantee you 9.99 out of 10 cannot. Truly. Anybody can walk up to a mirror and say, I love you. But I mean, you really mean it. So this idea of hatred, self-hate, these ideas that pop in our mind, things that have happened, and that it affects us. Shame and guilt affects us bigger than we think a lot of times. It affects us in so many ways. I know people that have lost relationships. Have you lost any relationships because you just couldn't get out of the depression or out of the shame and guilt about something that you've done? And so like it has ruined the idea of who you are, and you just can't get past it, and you just apologize all the time. Your self-esteem, your self-worth is in the garbage. I know many people that are like that. They lose their jobs, they lose relationships. They are so critical over themselves because they really have so much shame about their life, or guilt about things that they've done and choices that they've done. Sometimes to the point where they even go the other way. They try to make themselves too perfect because they're so shameful of things that they've done that they want so hard to try to be perfect. And then that blows up in their face because guess what, people? None of us are perfect. Not a single one of us are perfect. It's the unquenchable ego that always has to act in a way that is trying to survive. Remember when I talk about the victim and the survivor? It's like a ping pong match. The victim and the survivor just hit the ball back and forth. Hey, I'll be the victim right now. Okay, here. All right, survivor, go ahead, take over. Thanks for the ball. All right, back to you, victim. And it's like a tennis match or a ping pong match over and over and over. And that's where most of us play. So, guys, self-sabotage is one of the greatest things that we can look at. It's one of the biggest things that we look at that can say, you know what? I carry shame and guilt, because when we self-sabotage things, when we sabotage relationships, friendships, jobs, things like that, it's because we feel guilty and shameful about things that have happened to us, or we don't understand the information that has happened. And so because of that, we make perceptions about things that are going on. I remember one time I was going through a terrible phase. It was, I wouldn't say terrible, I should strike that. I was going through a phase. And, it was, I call it my tornado days, or I was like a hurricane, and I was having a really hard time with my life and questioning everything. And just, I didn't want to be who I was, because it's a big responsibility. I know people think that, hey, being a psychic medium, having access to this, yes, it's all great and wonderful. And I wouldn't change it for the world. But it's a lot of pressure because people come at you all day long. And so I remember I was rejecting everything, and I felt so shameful because people have told me who I was wrong, and it went against God and the idea of society, and everything I believed in was just backwards, and people hated me for it, and people shunned me for it. And you know what? People still do. But the difference is now I realize that, what I need to do for myself to make myself, feel loved to who I am. And when I realized that the people who were shaming me, the people who were making me feel guilty, it was really them passing on their own stuff to me, you'd be surprised all the things that changed, because it stopped me. It stopped me from everything I wanted to do. Think about this right now, guys. If we're feeling guilty about something, how do you think it levels out to your potential? Do you think it hinders your potential, or do you think it allows your potential to grow? How about shame? If we're feeling shameful, do you think it's stopping us from our potential, or do you think it's allowing us to grow? Of course it's stopping us. It stops our potential. It stops us from wanting to try. Well, why should I try in relationships? Well, hey, I've been cheated on in every one of my relationships except for one. Okay? Every single one. So, hey, well, I feel shameful. I must not be good enough, right? Guilt. Oh man, I must be a terrible person to love. I come on, right? I could have a million ideas. And I've suffered abusive relationships. So as far as my idea, well, hey, why should I even try it? Because you know what? I'm just not worth it anymore, right? I shouldn't try a relationship. I shouldn't do anything. I shouldn't even try with friends. Because I'm not going to try to succeed, because what's the point, right? This always happens to me, and this always will. Well, if that's how you believe it, that's what's going to happen to you. But you have to understand that these are illusions. This is something that is put through ourselves in order for us to see. An illusion is carried in life for one purpose only: to see if you can work through it. Some of us call them walls. Some of us call them spiritual walls. but they are illusions. Everything in this world, even what you're experiencing now through this program, is an illusion. It is yourself teaching yourself how to grow, how to understand, how to be something more than you are. And so we put the illusions of anger, we put the illusions of guilt and shame and sadness and grief and happiness in your face, so that every single time you go to do something, you go to experience something, you have to work through it so that you can maximize the potential of who am I. We'll be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody, we are back for part 3 of the show. And if you're just joining us, we are talking about shame and guilt. Yes, my microphone keeps wanting to turn this way. I don't know why. Even though I locked it up and all sorts of good stuff, it just wants to turn towards you guys. Maybe it likes you guys. I don't know. But yeah, guys. So, shame and guilt are just an illusion. Just like happiness, just like sadness, just like grief, just like depression. It is all an illusion. Yes, the experience behind it is real, but it's all an illusion. It is all to teach you, to road trap you. It is all to teach you how to find yourself, because that's what we're here for. If we are going to answer the question, who am I and what else can I be? What are all the possibilities that we can be? Well, if life was happy-go-lucky, sunshine, rainbows, everybody was the flower girl just throwing flowers all over the place, and how could we learn anything? How could we learn self-reflection if I don't feel anger? How can I learn to love if I don't hurt somebody first, or if someone doesn't hurt me? We look at life and we think that things are done to us. But the only thing that is being done to us is you. You are in charge of your life. You are the one doing everything to yourself. There is no God or universe or supreme being that is doing it to you. And I know there's other people out there that believe that, but as they grow through their evolution, they will come to this understanding. People who cannot connect to themselves rely on those sources because they haven't realized that they are that source, that you are doing it to yourself, that you are that supreme being. There is no other outsource, and we're all the same. And so until they evolve to a certain point in their evolution, they're going to keep doing it. And that's why, just like you, just like me, just like everybody else, we have stuff to learn. We have stuff to experience. So these emotions, these things that we call emotions, these ideas that we have and that are put in front of us to trap us, to see, okay, well, hey, wait a minute. I'm in an emotional box right now. There's no walls. There's got to be a way out. There's got to be a way out of it. But the sad part is most of us don't want to get out. Most of us like being in that box. Most of us, or some of us, don't even know we're in a box of emotional beating up and cycles like that. We don't understand that because we're too afraid to do stuff, because we've had experiences. We've had these things that have hurt us. We've had this thing of shame and guilt. We've had this idea of depression, emotion. We've had these terrible experiences, and anxiety cripple us, PTSD. But this is the trap. These are the trap. Everything is the trap. You make a decision and you make a judgment and you stick with it. There is no right or wrong, good or bad. Stick with that decision. And then if the decision is either going to push you one way or push you another, but either way, it is going to push you into a lesson that you are able to understand, so it helps you grow. So it's not a bad lesson. It's not a good lesson. You didn't do right. You didn't do wrong. You did. You made a choice with the information that you had at the time, and you did it. What did you learn? What did you learn? Did you learn anything? If you haven't learned anything, well, guess what? You're not going to get out of the box until you learn it. If you have learned it, well, you know what? Guess what? Hey, we're smarter for it. What? We're wiser for it, right? How many times do we hear, we always see this on the thing, the whole matrix, the blue pill or the red pill, but it's different. They always say, start with $50 million now, or go back in life when you're like 6 years old with all the knowledge that you have now. A smart person would say, well, I would take the $50 million, right? Because why would I go back and lose those experiences with the knowledge that I have? Because if I go back and I tell myself with the knowledge I will, what else would I stop myself from learning? I would never take that. I would be happy with where I was at. I would be happy with all the things that I've ever learned, because all those situations, everything in your life has made you who you are. But now the question is, have you made yourself angry? Have you made yourself shameful? Have you made yourself guilt? Have you made yourself depressed? Have you made yourself happy? Have you made yourself accepting? Have you made yourself judgmental, closed-minded, etc., etc.? What have you made yourself? Because shame and guilt didn't. Depression and anxiety didn't. Society didn't make this. Every day you make a choice whether or not you want to sabotage things, you want to be guilty, you be angry, you want to do whatever. And so like attracts like. Tell me who your friends are. Tell me who you marry. Tell me who's around you, and I'll tell you who you are. Because it is a constant reflection. Hey, people, these are you right now. This is where you're at. And that is why I say, as you grow, don't hold on to people. Don't hold on to people. What may click now may not click tomorrow. And even if it doesn't click tomorrow and it ends as you guys think in a bad way, and that, it's okay, because that just means you're going on different paths. You came together for a short time for whatever reason, because you had things to learn together and you had things to see in yourself. But as you grow, you're going to keep doing that. I love everybody that I've ever come in contact with. I do. And I don't regret anything. And I come and go in people's lives constantly. That's one of the only constants in my life, that I know that the people who are in here today will probably not be there tomorrow. And that's okay. I enjoy the people and the situations and the experiences that I have right now. And when that tomorrow comes, I'm not going to feel shameful. I'm not going to feel guilty. If I'm in a relationship and it ends in a way that, is hurtful and displeasing to me, well, hey, it ended the way it ended. I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm not going to feel guilty for things I've said or things I've done. I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to say, okay, well, I did this, and now this was the outcome. So now that lesson is over, how can I change it? What can I do to change it, to make judgments and to make decisions that'll be more in tune with who I am? Not better decisions, not worse decisions. And what decisions can I make that'll be more in tune with my personal growth? Because that's really what shame and guilt are about. I don't know how many times, especially in whether it's drug addictions, relationships, how many times are we mad at someone? I know certain people in my life that say, "Oh, I'll never date someone with this name." Because they're so angry still at the ex that they had with that name, or somebody looks like somebody that they used to be friends with or whatever, and they're so angry at it. That person ruined my life. I'll never go back and do that. And that, I was so stupid in that relationship. I let that person do this and take advantage of me and manipulate me. And that, well, do you do it now? No, you don't? Well, hey, you learned, right? Congratulations then. That's what it's about. Now you got to learn how to get rid of those fake emotions that we call anger and resentment and guilt and shame and that, because that doesn't exist. If you've truly learned from the shame and guilt that you're trying to learn from, through the experience, then those fake emotions will disappear, because all it is frequency, right? Frequency, vibration. Where are we resonating? Are we resonating here? We'll call it happiness. We'll call it joy. We'll call it, blissfulness, all that stuff. Are we resonating, in anger and sadness and grief? Well, then we're down here and, where are we resonating? Up or down, up and down. And life is like a cycle anyways. It goes up or down. You know what? If you think that I'm happy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, then you got another thing coming. When I feel down, I take it and I ride with it. Okay, we're going down. Let's rest. Let's relax. Let's work on things that come up. Let's take time. I just took several weeks off and I'm still kind of on a break, because I needed that downtime. I realized that I was coming down and a lot of people, a lot of things were agitating me. Now, were they really aggravating to me? No, but I knew that I was getting aggravated because that's my signal. When I start feeling annoyed and aggravated, that's my signal. Okay, Miss Raina, let's take a step back. Let's work on self. Let's see what we can do. So then when we come on the upswing, we can do it. And whatever pops up, I'm not going to feel shame or guilty. I'm not going to blame somebody else for things that I've done. I made those decisions. Yes, I have had terrible relationships. Yes, I have done drugs. Yes, I have done things. I was in a gang when I was younger. I have done things that at one time I was not proud of. But it brought me here. It made me realize what the human experience of life was all about. It brought me to the harshest of extremes, of hatred and no self-love to an unconditional love. And without each other, we don't have what we call balance. We don't have the duality. Today is 2, 2, 2, 2. What did I say? It's about duality, right? It's about seeing ourselves in perspective. So take what you're seeing, the guilt, the shame, the anger, the pain, the suffering, the happiness, the joy, all that, and learn from it. Say, wow, without this, I would not be understanding this. Without this happening, thank the people and thank yourself for making those decisions at that time, because at that time, you didn't have the information you have now. At 6 years old, do you have all that information that you have now? No, you had to experience it. See, you look at that, if you would take the red pill to go back and tell yourself all the stuff you know now and then relive life over, that means you feel guilt and shame. Because you don't want to experience that you will have, if you go back with the knowledge you used to have and then do it all over, that you'll be guilt and shame free, that you'll be able to have a better life and do things better. But you're not getting the concept yet. There is no good or bad. There is no shame or guilt or anger. There is none of this. It's just experiencing it at what we are. So you didn't ruin anyone's life. No one ruined your life. Everything happened the way it needs to. I know people who suffer from drug abuse that relapse all the time and they beat themselves up. Oh man, well, it's a hard thing. I know people who can't get off sugar. People go buy junk food all the time, or go shopping all the time, or buy excessively computer parts all the time. Hey, I know it. It happens all the time, right? I know people that, and we all have our fix. We all have our fix, all of us. We're all there. So we have to learn that these ideas have to be moved on from. Guys, I have so much. I got through 8 pages of my 22 pages of notes today, and I can go on with this forever. But I really want you guys to start loving yourselves, start understanding yourselves, stop beating yourselves up for things that have happened to you, whether they're in your control or out of your control, or a judgment or a decision you made. It was meant to be that way for a reason. learn from it, grow from it, see the truth of who you are, and see the truth of the reason why it is the way it is. And you're going to find that once you accept you for you and you come in alignment with who you truly are, not what you believe, not what you've been told to believe, not your morals and judgments, but who you are in truth, you're going to find a whole different ballgame. You're going to find that all these things, these emotions that we call, or these feelings we call emotions, I should say, you're going to find that they all dissipate. It's really the most amazing thing. It really is. Well, we're always going to have these emotions because there's always information coming through. The experience behind what you're experiencing, yes, it is true. But what you're perceiving and everything that you're going through is not real. It is meant to teach you how to be stronger, how to be self-reflective, how to bring you back to self. And that's all life really is. It's not hard to figure out life. When you connect to yourself, it's not hard. So, guys, it's good to be back. I've missed you guys. I really have. It's just, it feels good to be back on my feet. I know some people were asking what was going on with the show. I know we've been up and down with it. We're going to start trying to do the show more often, but again, I'm not pushing it. My health comes first. I can't do this show or teach anybody if I'm not back to health. So we're almost there, not 100%. So most weeks we're going to try to pump out a show for you guys and everything like that. But there will be some weeks that will be taken off depending on how I feel. But I miss you guys and thank you guys for coming. So, all right, guys, as always, follow us on our Facebook at facebook.com/Transcendental Transformation. Our YouTube is the same. Visit my website, soulandspiritguide.com, and make sure you sign up for the newsletter to receive hidden shows, VIP access to the website, and special guest offers. Email me at transcendentaltransformations, that's plural, at gmail.com. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns with the show, if you guys enjoyed tonight's show, please share it. The only way we're going to grow is by you guys. I love you guys. I love the people that do share it. I am so honored that you share my show with people. So please keep helping other people, or help us reach other people as well. And always remember to believe in yourself, and it's not our abilities or our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you and have a wonderful week.